admin meeting Tuesday, January 14th. Annie, would you do a bit of roll call, please?
Sure. It looks like online we have Cheryl Hartman, Christina DeVar, Griffin Smith, MCAT, Mel Fisher, and 206. We have Commissioner Slotnick and Strohmeyer, Allison Branch, John Hart, Annie Chappie, Chris Lounsbury, and Ann Hughes.
Thanks. Do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, let's jump right to the consent agenda. Anything in there, Dave, you want to?
No, I would move we
Awesome.
approve the consent agenda.
Excellent. That swiftness. I'll second that. Call again for any public comment. All right, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, consent agenda. Whew, we nailed it. Action items. No action items.
Consent agenda was the action.
That was the action. Okay, anything to discuss?
Yeah, a couple of quick updates related to the legislature, just to give you guys a little bit of information on where we are with bills here. You'll get this fun presentation at all of our admins as well. So just to let you know, House Bill 113, which is revise resident preferences for public contracts and contract term limits, is a bill that is up this week for hearing that we are supporting. This would allow local governments to extend some of our contracts, in particular around software, which up from the standard 7 years up to 10 years, which if you think about it, kind of makes sense in the fact that often those we don't want to be changing software every 5 years, which is our normal term, and then we can extend for 2 just for consistency's sake. So that we are supporting that bill because it will help out with that. We're also supporting Senate Bill 8, which is up this week, which will allow folks to register to vote while they obtain their driver's license. There are some challenges around how those systems will share information, but just conceptually, it's a good idea if we offer more opportunities for folks to be able to register to vote. We feel like that's an important piece,
Online.
and we'll work through the back part.
Register online.
Register online. This is not the motor voter. Sorry. Motor voter is a different one. Sorry about that. So SB 8 is allow online voter registration.
Correct.
Okay.
So sorry. So we're supporting
You're good.
that one. We'll eventually get to the motor voter.
So
one.
Chris, can you go back one about the local preference?
Yeah.
Just, what is that? What is local preference?
So it also allows for vendors in the state of Montana and or the county or city that they're responding to RFPs and RFQs to have preference in the selection process. So it'd be one of the criteria we could consider when selecting a vendor.
Okay.
So,
And locals are state.
local could be statewide, yes.
Great.
Yep. House Bill 20 was a bill that we opposed this week. That was the bill that would allow us or would require us to have all voted mills be in dollars only versus levies. It does not impact any that are currently out there. The main reason we went in opposition to this is because it does not really allow for the increase, the increase in level of services that happens over time when we talk about voted levies. And so we went in opposition of that, just in recognition of the fact that I'll use Missoula Aging Services as an example. They originally passed theirs as a fixed dollar amount, which was the only thing that was allowed. So this language that's being proposed actually used to exist. The problem was it does not allow them to then provide services as the population has aged. And so they actually went back up to the voters last year or during the pandemic and asked for their dollar amount to be moved to mills so that it could continue to capture growth as they continue to have the expanded need for services. And so we have actually had this cap in place or this piece of legislation in place before where it was in voted mills or voted dollars only. And 2 legislative sessions, they went back to change it to allow both mills and dollars because exactly that issue continues to arise, which is if you approve a fixed dollar amount, that does not prevent inflation and other things from continuing to drive costs.
And we live in a high growth area. The need for services continues to expand even as the value of the dollar shrinks.
Yeah.
Especially as Josh and I entered the
No
era
kidding,
of
the
need
senior
for
staff, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Chris, on the, who's the main driving force behind that bill?
That particular bill is.
Is that a Mr. Hertz bill?
Shoot, the list that I printed out does not.
Sorry.
Thanks, Vaughn. I was going to be all ready to be your backup, but I'm.
Thanks. I do believe it's Senator Hertz, but we will. Ann's going to look really quickly and then correct me
Not
when I'm
because
wrong.
I don't have internet.
Oh, we don't have internet. Well, there you go.
No internet.
I think that's correct.
I think it's my laptop.
Oh, okay.
No.
When does this one have a hearing?
This one had its
Had a
hearing. Yeah, as I say, so we've already commented on this particular bill. So just to let you know where we are.
Were there other?
executive action hasn't happened, so we'll see if it comes out of committee.
Oh, okay. What is, sorry for dumb
No,
questions.
no, don't
Does
worry.
executive action mean a vote?
Correct. Vote by the committee to move it out to the floor for full debate by the House that it's in front of
Were
you.
you guys able to watch some of the committee debate?
I did not watch House Bill 20.
Okay.
So
If there were many other opponents?
yeah, there were,
There were proponents or opponents.
yeah.
There weren't proponents or opponents.
I don't believe so.
So that's really interesting. What do you make of that?
I don't know.
As I say, yeah. So two bills did want to talk with you guys and get your feedback on that are coming up. So they are not yet scheduled for hearing, but they did come up as conversation points that we wanted to talk to you guys about. The first is a bill that would allow recall by petition with no reason stated on the petition for
Who's
why the recall. So this would be for any elected official. So this would
We're
move.
tired of this person.
Thanks. Annie has it up here. So this, can you click on sponsors? Sorry.
Yep. Can do.
That's the tab I'm looking for. Thank you. Okay, well, that's handy, but it doesn't actually say, oh, Representative Brewster, it looks like. Was the sponsor for SB 20, or
Oh,
for HB 20, sorry, the voted mills bill. So the recall petition bill basically would allow for the recall of any elected official. So that currently exists. It doesn't really change much about it. The difference is right now on the recall petition that people sign, which requires a certain number of signatures based on the number of voters, they actually have to state the reason for the recall. So what is it that the elected official has in essence done that they believe warrants recalling the elected official? And it also, in state law, specifies some specific reasons that an elected official can be recalled for. This would basically remove those requirements and make it so you could circulate a petition with no real reason, just
what are the?
let's recall Billy Bob from office.
Do you know what the threshold is on signatures?
It's actually different depending, if I remember correctly, different based on the office. So for example, in a special district, the threshold would be lower because
Sure,
there's
fewer.
fewer voters. So when we talk about countywide offices, if I remember correctly, it's either 10 or 15%, I think, of registered voters that's required to then place that item on the next ballot. So
The history of successful recalls?
not in Missoula County that I'm aware of. I can't speak
Yeah,
for
that's all right.
for statewide. So we did reach out to the associations. It sounds like Montana Association of Counties will be opposing that bill just for exactly those reasons that their opinion is that there needs to be a reason stated so that people actually know why they're signing the petition to recall. And so really, the question is just if you want Missoula County to weigh in on that and or if any of you would like to testify as elected officials, since you would be the ones kind of subject to the new regulation.
Well, I'd be inclined to oppose. Having a reason seems like a good idea, and to jettison that seems like a bad idea. Whether or not this rises to the level of us testifying, I don't know that that would add anything.
I agree with Dave on both those counts. I think we should oppose, and if Mako's opposing, and I don't believe we need to.
Yeah, just as always, Mako always, and so I'll remind on behalf of Mako's, the point is that, we can certainly send a comment and we can have folks, elected official to elected official sometimes is taken as more weight to the legislature where they are elected officials. They tend to be a little more deferential to other elected officials when they hear from you guys directly. And so again, not saying that you need to testify, but just always keep that in mind when you're making a decision about whether you want to testify on a bill. You certainly do carry more weight than just a message from Missoula County.
I mean, I don't care. I'd be happy to, this would be an easy one to testify on because it's basically, we're in favor of transparency and folks putting out their reasons why you want to recall someone.
And right now, the state has a list of, these are reasons why this could work.
Right now, in the Montana Code annotated, there are specific criteria for recalling an elected official. And so they include things like mental competence, right? Like, so if somebody is clearly having a mental health crisis, they include failure to perform the duties of the office to
Not
which you're
showing up
elected,
or something.
those kinds of things. And so you do have to have a specific reason.
Where I could see this going awry would just be policy disagreements. And I'm just going to make up a scenario. Imagine there's an election for an elected official and the person who wins by 0.2% or something. 2 months later, is there a petition circulated, easy to get 10% of the signatures because nearly 50% of the voters in the county voted against this person just because they don't like the policy decisions and they want to try again. So then we have to basically adjudicate an election again. I could see the abuse of this and also understanding what the costs of elections are, especially countywide elections.
But would that be allowable right now? You just need to say that that's your reason?
So policy disagreement is not one of the reasons that's currently specified in
So
state
the
law.
reasons specified are,
Mental competence, failure to do your job.
but they have to fall within those categories. They're not just examples of the sorts of.
No, they actually specify the.
Physical or mental lack of fitness, incompetence, violation of the oath of office, official misconduct, or conviction of a felony offense are the only grounds for recall. A person may not be recalled for performing a mandatory duty of the office that the person holds or for not performing any act that, if performed, would subject the person to prosecution for official misconduct.
So Chris, clarification. So a petition or an effort would still have to meet one of those criteria. You just don't have to say.
It removes those
Removes that
criteria.
altogether. Okay.
Correct.
Just-
And removes the requirement to list what the reason is.
That's where my concern is with imagining this my mythical, very close election. And 3 weeks later, 2 months later, someone who voted the other way was to say, well, this person's doing a terrible job. I hated their decision on parking. So let's do this again because we only need to get 20 more votes and we'll win. So they do this. They collect the signatures, easy to get 10% if the person got 50% of the vote. And we have another countywide election that's really expensive.
Yeah, I will say, I think one of the biggest challenges that's out there is the fact that elected officials are often put in positions, as you are pretty continuously, of having to make difficult policy decisions that can't necessarily meet 100% of every constituent's desire for what the outcome would be, right? I mean,
in
that's
some ways,
just the reality.
our job is to.
Yeah. So the other bill I just wanted to chat with you guys about really quickly is around it focuses around judgment levies and protested taxes. There is a bill that's being put forward that would require a vote for the use of a judgment levy or the use of protested taxes. So I'm going to start with protested taxes. Right now, a taxing jurisdiction, not just Missoula County, the city of Missoula, school districts, everybody, has the right to use the money that is held aside when a person protests their taxes up to a certain amount of that money that's set aside. They are allowed to use while the protest process plays out. That, under this bill, that authority would go away, and if they wanted to use that money in the protested taxes that are set aside for that, they would have to go to the voters and request that the voters vote to allow them to use the protested taxes. Taxes are protested for a host of reasons, valid, invalid, all kinds of things. We are required to segregate those funds, and when a jurisdiction uses them, they understand that they are subject to having to repay those funds if the protests are successful. So that would require a vote. Mixed in with that, they included judgment levies. The judgment levies, of course, are orders of the court to any political subdivision of the state of Montana, including the state of Montana, when they lose a court case that can be for a host of reasons and, in essence, are required to pay the cost of whatever the suit or settlement is. And so this bill would require those to go out to a vote of the people as well prior to them being used.
Horrible idea.
I say which is again, as I say, is again challenging, at least from an administrative standpoint, because once a court has issued an order, included in that order is the time frame in which you have to pay the damages. And so one can imagine scenarios where, in essence, the court says you have to pay this in the next 60 days, let's just say, and we would somehow need to conduct an election inside that time frame, countywide. If we were talking about the county, if you were talking about a school, it'd be inside the school district, and the city inside the city limits, inside for a special district inside the boundaries of the special district. So procedurally, that seems like it creates a lot of problems. In addition to the fact that once a court has ordered us to pay, be it us, the county, or us, any other jurisdiction, we don't actually have any way to pay that absent that. So I did have a conversation with Erica Grindy, who's our risk manager, so we could get an idea of like what would the quantifiable costs be for this. And Erica is working on that because what it would require in the case of Missoula County, because I can't speak on behalf of other jurisdictions, is we would in essence need to carry significantly more insurance than we carry now in order to be able to still comply with court orders that said, pay this within X number of days. And so that would result obviously in an increase in taxes in order to be able to fund that policy. Because right now, Missoula County retains the first $1 million of liability. And that allows us to reduce the cost that we pay annually for insurance. And so we'd end up having to claim more things against our insurance, and we would need to reduce that $1 million deductible, and our premiums would go up substantially based on that. So she's working on getting us that number so that we can include that. Again, I'm operating under the assumption before we had a chance to talk today that we would most likely be an opponent to that bill, but just wanting to check in with you all as well. And obviously, once we get the cost of that premium information, I'm happy to share it with you.
Interesting sort of timing thing here. I can see why some people would want to see this happen because they don't like the idea of the county, which would mean everybody's property taxes going to pay off a big bill for someone who is injured and won a suit against the county, not understanding that that's a one-time thing, as opposed to if we have to carry more insurance, no matter what happens, maybe we lose no lawsuits, nobody is injured in any way where we're negligent. We're still paying every month or every 6 months or whatever the schedule is for the insurance. So in an effort to reduce property taxes, they're actually increasing property taxes.
Well, and they're going to decrease services if the majority of folks vote no to pay the judgment levy, and then we're stuck with having to scale back something to.
We'd be leaning on our insurance to pay the bill.
Yeah, I will say, we've talked to a few other counties about this issue, and their biggest concern, obviously, is one of the areas where every county has their largest liability, which is in the detention facility, right? And how do we address when a tragic circumstance happens, not even necessarily through the fault of the county, and we're then, dealing with, the loss of someone's life and the financial cost that comes with that.
It'd be interesting too, in that we're asking voters to make a decision with barely any information, saying, should we pay the money that goes to person X who said this bad thing happened to them, when the voters didn't sit in on the trial and listen to all the deliberations and hear all the evidence and everything. They just got 2 lines on a ballot. And no one's going to want to spend money. Right.
I was going to say, and just to be clear, even if they vote no, we will still be obligated by the court order to pay. So I think
is Mako opposing this one?
Mako will be an opponent, and this is another place where they are asking and will be asking elected officials.
How about the league?
I don't know for the league. I have not had a chance to talk to Dale. I'll talk to IC Dale on Thursdays, and so I'll ask Dale where the league is going to be.
You test Thursday, the first one.
Well, I'll do
this one if you want to do that.
If we need someone to testify in the first one, sure, I'll do that.
And
so I'm happy to once
one.
These come out to let you guys know, and we can see if scheduling wise if we can.
And this is the kind of thing where we can do teams or.
Yes, they provide for the ability to testify remotely through. I think they're using Zoom, but yes.
You did one the other day.
This morning.
5 minutes.
It was just testifying.
Good, no questions. So.
Yeah.
Josh, a corollary to what you were saying, this bill would have a chilling effect on settlements, because rather than just making a decision as to whether or not to settle a claim based on all the information and facts that we have about the claim and what we know about verdict histories and what we, and the resources that we had to continue to defend a claim, rather than, have us all do other things on behalf of the taxpayers. We'll be in a situation where we may not want to settle a case because we know that in order to get the money, we have to ask the voters for a judgment levy. And just like then you said, it will be very difficult to explain all the facts and circumstances and the nuances and things like that about the reason why we think it's in the best interest of the county to settle a claim for this amount of money. That'll be almost an impossible
Yeah.
PR.
So then all these things will go to
proposition.
trial instead
And
of.
so instead, we'll be reticent to settle cases and roll the dice, and then maybe we'll really get tagged. And so, one way or another,
Which will cost taxpayers.
one way or another, they will cost taxpayers money. And I
good point.
know we always make decisions to settle because one, we think it's the right thing to do, but also we think it's in the best interests of the taxpayers of Missoula County to, settle for what we know is an amount today versus risking going to trial and the unknown,
Yeah,
risking a lot more taxpayer money.
yeah, that's a good point.
So those are the two I wanted to check in with you guys about today, and Thursday we'll undoubtedly have more for us to talk about.
Great, thanks. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ready to close?
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.